So let's begin. So basically, we're just gonna go over new stuff that's happening, as well as there we go. Let me just read some of the messages being sent in this. Yeah, we're just gonna be going over some new features as well as questions that people asked. So yeah, Q&A time. First question: how did you make Wumpus host, and how does it work, and how is it on 24/7? So before Wumpus, Wumpus has been around for about a year now. And before that, I used to run a host called Lightbulb.host. Basically the exact same thing as Wumpus, really. If essentially we kind of just rebranded to Wumpus because it was more in tune with Discord in a way. So it was more of a rebrand than us making a whole new kind of concept or idea, essentially. How does it work? How is it online 24/7? So I spend a stupid amount of money for nothing, essentially. So yeah, I pay for the servers, which obviously gives you guys your hosting, essentially. Never made a profit. Don't think I ever will, but oh well. It's not an enormous amount of money, but it's enough money for it to, for me to notice that it's not in my bank account. If you get what I mean, so yeah, it's alright, Anyway, next question. How do you come up with the name Wumpus Host? So obviously Wumpus is part of Discord, and essentially, obviously we were offering free Discord bot hosting, so it made a lot of sense for us to somehow become more like Discord related to people. So people know, obviously, Wumpus as, the funny guy on your screen right up here. If you're watching the little guy with the hat, that's Wumpus. And I thought, you know what, we're doing Discord bot hosting, might as well relate it somehow to Discord in a way. So yeah, that's why Wumpus.host came around. I actually owned the domain name for about 4 months before we even got started with it. We just never moved to it. Anyway, will Wumpus support game server hosting? Now, this is a tough one. Not for free, because it requires a lot of resources. It's very hard to maintain a free host that does game hosting. Either it'll be really, really laggy, which no one really wants. There's no point offering something if it's going to be pretty much unplayable. It's not quality. There's no quality involved. It's just kind of like a free-for-all. Paid hosting, possibly, but at the same time, it's a very difficult thing to have to manage as well, because support for game hosting there's a lot of support, essentially, and trying to find support people to help with that kind of stuff is quite challenging nowadays. What new features / ideas are you planning in the future for Wumpus? I will answer this at the end of this Q&A session, because there's a whole category for this. Why are you still continuing Wumpus as free tier, even though you technically makes you lose money? Well, because we've always done free hosting. It's kind of like almost the backbone of what Wumpus is. So to get rid of it would be kind of a bit stupid in a way. I think it's just part of who we are. We do have paid plans. They support a little bit. They help cover the costs, but people, 99% of the people that are in the server are here because of the free hosting. To get rid of it would be illogical. Everyone would just leave. It wouldn't make any sense. What's your inspiration to make Wumpus host? So originally I just wanted to, I guess, give back to the community in a way, because obviously there's a lot of talented developers out there that are from less privileged countries, just can't afford to be able to run any sort of code 24/7. So they could be really good developers and put a lot of work into a bot, but then they can't have success in that bot because they can't keep it online due to the fact that they might not have the money, or have they're not in the correct situation to be able to provide that kind of level of uptime, I guess. And I just thought that if people spend hours, days, months coding a bot, that they should have at least somewhere to run it, which is why we don't actually offer support for people that host like GitHub bots. We don't like offer any in-depth support to them because that's not really who we're gearing towards. Whereas we offer a lot of support to people who code their own bots and things like that, because they're the people that are putting in hours, days, into their own projects. So we care about them a little bit more. Not saying that you other guys using GitHub bots we don't care about, but there's a bit more love for the actual proper developers out there. What will you do if you wake up in the morning and see Wumpus is not working anymore? Well, first of all, I'd probably open up Discord and scroll down to the management chat we have. Probably ping a few people, and then if they don't respond, I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I'll start diagnosing why it's not working. Try to work out why. Try to fix it. Probably make an announcement once I know what's wrong, and just resolve it, really. If it's really screwed, the good chance we have to wait for like someone like J122J or like Yaj to get online just to help out. I mean, we haven't had anything like that happen yet. I mean, half the stuff that has happened, there hasn't been a lot actually, it's been mostly out of our control. Just like random things. Like the last time something happened was when Discord rate limited us. In fact, it's not even in their control. It's a Cloudflare rate limit, which means Discord essentially have like certain like set limits. They can't remove individual rate limits either. So when people make I don't know, a lot of requests to Discord at once, essentially, there's a chance you can get rate limited on whatever IP address is running them bots. There's not any way for us to fix it. There's not any way that Discord could really fix it. Like, obviously, Discord could get in contact with Cloudflare, but for that level of support, we would have to be much bigger than we are. So it was a matter of just waiting it out. Really, we couldn't really do much else other than that. But in short term, basically we would fix it if there's anything wrong. Yeah. Is there future plans for Wumpus host to change their name? Now, we don't have any plans, but we have a few mitigation plans in a way. So if I wake up in the morning one day and I see an email from someone at Discord saying that they want to, basically they're asking us to change our names. Now, depending on the sort of email it is, if it's a nice email, probably talk to them, see what we can do, things like that, and we would probably have to change the name. If it's an aggressive email, probably wouldn't change the name because legally, Wumpus is not a trademark in the UK. Therefore, they have no legal grounds to ask us to change the name. Now, if it was a polite email, I'd probably just start the process of changing the name over because they're being polite. It's not like it's gonna hurt us that much changing names. So yeah, pretty much, if it comes down to Wumpus Discord asks us to change the name, then we probably will. But we have no plans to do it without a reason to, essentially. Will you offer cheap VPS hosting too in the future? Probably not. It's quite a hard thing to offer. Cheap VPS hosting, unless you can have your own data center, like your own data center with like your own IP addresses, it can be very costly. Especially in the UK, the power currently has gone through the roof, so the power would be a lot of money. IP addresses are also a lot of money currently. So it would be a very costly measure to set up. And also, like cheap, so companies that offer cheap VPS hosting, their infrastructure is massive. They've got multiple data centers. They got multiple streams of income. It's not easy for a new host to just start up, like offering VPS hosting without a massive financial input into it. So you're talking about 20-30k, like $1,000 or £1,000, just to get a proper cheap hosting company going. A lot of the cheap hosting companies that are starting currently, they might see online, they'll last for like a few months and then die off because it's very hard for them to keep in profit. It's not even in profit, just keeping to be able to pay off it becomes impossible to make any sort of money essentially from that. Do you make profit from servers? Currently, no. no profit. We've done a few sales on paid servers, but nowhere near profit, I would say. Yeah, we've probably covered maybe 15% of what I put in, so yeah, nowhere near profit wise. You guys partner with unverified bots too? Yeah, so depending on obviously the bot, we decide if we want to partner it or not. Obviously, partnered servers get a lot more resources in terms of RAM, storage, mobile servers, things like that. It depends on if we can see a future for your bot, essentially. If it's unique, if it's compelling to people, if it has a consistent growth. So it might not be verified yet, but have you got a growth pattern? Like, are you gaining servers every day? Things like that is what we actually look at, because we don't want to give extra resources to a bot that is a bit of a stale bot. It's not growing. It's not gonna there's no signs of it succeeding in a way. It's a bit of a waste if you just give all these resources to essentially a stale project that you're probably going to forget about and give up on in the next few weeks to a month. Do you pay for servers, or how do you do it? Yes, obviously I said before, we do pay quite a nominal amount of money. It isn't too bad, but it is enough to make me question myself every month. But no plans to stop anytime soon, so everyone can be rest assured. I give you my guarantee. Next 3 months, 100% guarantee. We're not going to stop. So there you go. Yeah, a bit of a guarantee there. Anyway. Is your real name Jamie? Yes, it is. A great name. I know, right? Why can't we host servers like Minecraft or Rust, etc.? Like I said before, resource-wise, it's very heavy. The current version of Minecraft, for example, to run a server, you need realistically, like even a small server with minimal plugins, you're talking 3 or 4 gig, and it's very CPU dependent as well. And it's a bit hard to offer that for free. Companies like FreeMC, for example, their nodes are constantly going down. Like every other day, they'll be going down. The things like they lag as hell. As soon as you have more than 2 players on it, they become pretty much unplayable. There's a few companies like can't quite remember what they're called, where you're not really giving you're not giving like a Minecraft server, but you're giving essentially almost like another world, I guess. Bit like how Mineplex does it, and like Hypixel, where you have your own almost kind of like separate, I don't know. It's essentially like a little spin-off, but it isn't an actual server. They're obviously still massive companies that are doing that. Their revenue streams are quite large, so they can actually offer that. And in a long term, they'll probably make money off of it, which is impressive, because they run ads within them free servers. Obviously, we're a completely ad-free zone, because I despise looking at something that's just like pops up on your screen. It annoys me, which is why I'm against it. Which is like when you go on the panel, you don't see any ads except from Easy Radio ad. That's because it's my bot. But other than that, you don't see any ugly ads. Now we could 100% put ads on the panel, and they'll be really obnoxious, but it just isn't a nice feeling, essentially. Future plans. So we're going to be offering cheaper paid plans. We're cutting the prices pretty much in half across the board. This will be introduced within next week or so. Basically, we did some math and we worked out what we could essentially offer without, number one, us losing a bunch of money, but also us not making like a lot of money in a way. So it's a nice level playing field where we're basically being able to pay for the servers that are running the paid plans, and also making a little bit of money so we can improve the free side as well. So we're bringing down the paid plans pricing a bit, just so we can have that nice improvement to the free plans, but also to the paid servers as well. Pricing isn't released yet, but it will be by next week, so there'll be an announcement for that. So community Minecraft server, it'd be a Java server, so it'd be a bit of a towny server for people to join and they're able to claim a house or build their own house somewhere. Essentially that. It's been in the plans for ages, we just haven't got around to it. That will come out in the next probably about 2 weeks. It's mostly done, just finishing touches, and it'll be ready to go. We'll be releasing more on that in the next week or so look out for that. So there'll be a public Wumpus bot coming out in the next week or so. That'll just allow you to do like commands like the /manage command to turn off, turn on your server, just in your own server if you want to do it in your own server or things like that. Just so you don't have to come into the Wumpus server, the Wumpus Discord every single time you want to do something bot related. So there'll be a few commands that you'll be able to do just in your own server, essentially. Obviously not all of them because it wouldn't make any sense to do some of them, but the critical ones you'll be able to do. There'll also be a few more commands that'll be server related. Not sure what they are yet, but I'll think of them essentially. Right, any other questions? Feel free to post them somewhere and I'll have a little read of them. There we go. Okay, so it's Salif. Jamie, sorry to bring you, but why aren't you using Arc.io? Well, we looked into Arc before actually, but don't have an invite code, so I can't really look at that much in detail. But Arc basically makes money. They don't necessarily show ads, but they make money from selling your cookies, which is a bit odd, really. Obviously, it's a content delivery network as well, so it works by basically using your internet and things like that. But it does mean like people in like certain countries where data is quite expensive, it does mean that it would end up just chewing up their data, which is not really ideal either. But Arc also sells your cookie data, which is like previous sites you visited, things like that. So not really, it's a bit intrusive in a way, and I'm not inclined that way, if you get what I mean. Any other questions? Let me have a look at the voice channel. Is Microsoft for cracked players too? Probably not, because it's quite difficult to manage like authentication when it's like that. I will check you in a second, Chase. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to manage authentication when it's a cracked server. People have to have like pins and passwords, and we have to end up probably resetting them so often because people forget them. Is VPS or your own server better? It's a good question, really. It depends on the workload, really. VPS is better, so there's a lot of RAM in the VPS, there's a lot of CPU on the VPS. I mean, my server has a GPU in, but like, so it'll be better. My server is definitely better at GPU stuff, but the VPS will probably be better at compute related stuff, i.e. for running processes, things like that. Will you ever do coding sessions? Could be private ones. Maybe not. I'm quite busy, like I am, but I'm not. I watch a lot of crap, like TV show wise, so I'm not really busy, but like I am at the same time. It's a good mix and both, like mix and match. We could definitely do coding sessions, like public ones, like open ones, which could be quite fun. Maybe mini tutorials you can put on YouTube or something as well. Yeah, it could be quite fun. Let me check QA quickly. Are Wumpus servers static IP addresses? Yes, they are. We don't give them out because if you do want something accessible, open a ticket and then we'll proxy it through to whatever domain you want. Because as soon as we start giving out IP addresses, they're quite hard to manage. Then we get DDoSed, and then everyone's things go down, and you know it's another point of just annoyance for us because having an IP address DDoSed is just annoying. And lucky enough, over the past year, we haven't had any DDoS attacks because of the measures we take in not giving out IP addresses. Yes, technically you can get the IP address if you know what you're doing, but if you do want anything hosted externally, just ask us and we can proxy it, and then there's no worries about IP leakages and things like that. Why only 64 megs of RAM? Well, because it costs money. Realistically, most bots can run fine on 64 megs of RAM. The GitHub bots I talked about before, they just include so much crap. They're just littered with crap that they just use so much RAM. Like, you probably will only use 1/4 of the commands in that whole bot. Like, it's just filled with crap that no one needs. But yeah, 64 megs of RAM is normally enough for most bots. Like Easy Radio, for example. It's in, I think it's in somewhere near 600 servers. It plays music, for example. While it's not playing music, music obviously uses a lot of RAM. It has, you know, a few slash commands, things like that. It could run on that 64 megs of RAM. Obviously, when it's playing music, it can't. But other than that, it could. How can we help out? It's a good question, really. How could you help out? By leaving a review on Trustpilot. That's how you could help out, I guess. Because we do occasionally, well, actually twice. There's been 2 people that we had to ban for different reasons. Someone had like I think it was like some sort of like a DOS kind of like spammer that just like spam checked QR like coupon codes and rubbish. It was like on the verge of illegal. So we had to ban them, and they just basically just said that they weren't told why they were banned, but we did email them saying why they were banned. And then there's another person, I think he was a kid to be honest, who basically just kept coming back on alt accounts, which was quite annoying to be honest to deal with. I posted the Trustpilot link in the Q&A channel. Ignore the that funny bot command there. We have make coding sessions, obviously already answered it. Will you make Wumpus host Lava Link or support Lava Link hosting for users? We could look into Lava Link, like a public Lava Link for Wumpus like clients. Obviously it would depend on like its usage, like how much CPU it uses, RAM it uses, so we'd have to experiment with it. But we could definitely look into it. What I'll do is I'll put it on a list, and if we get to it, we get to it, and we'll just do a few checks essentially. Will Wumpus host support SSH? If so, when? Probably not, because SSH is only really useful for like a VPS, whereas we run all your bots essentially in Docker containers, which are essentially restricted VPSs. Obviously in a VPS you can install software and do whatever, where Docker containers you can't install anything that's already not on the Docker container. So being able to SSH into a Docker container is technically possible, but I don't see any real use, if you get what I mean, of being able to. So you might as well just use the panel. Technically you could use like a WebSocket connection, like I guess you could technically WebSocket into it, but yeah, there's no point. Yeah, I think that's all the questions, unless there's any more in the voice channel chat. Yeah, that's all. So if that's everything, thank you guys for coming along. Hope you enjoyed my voice as usual, and getting some answers for what's coming up, as well as basically any questions you guys had. Yeah. I'm going to end the recording now. So thank you guys for watching. That's watching the recording, and you got this far along. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of talking here.